Hi, my name's Gidon Goodman. I was born with a rare genetic condition called Gaucher's disease. When I was 6 months old, they started noticing that something was wrong. I was diagnosed with a failure to thrive and I was sent to my first specialist. I spent more than 2.5 years in the hospital system without being diagnosed, going from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, and all of them seeing me, being able to see the symptoms, but not being able to say what I had. And that was a really hard time for my family. I was misdiagnosed with leukemia, with celiac disease, and constantly my family was bombarded with bad news and news of my health really deteriorating. After 2.5 years of being bounced around the system, I was finally diagnosed with Gaucher's disease by a registrar who, by luck, had experience with the disease in another one of her postings. A few months after I was diagnosed, I was finally put onto treatment. Once I was on treatment, everything really did start to get better. My growth stabilised, my liver and spleen shrank, I started feeling healthier, the fatigue went away, and I really became a normal Australian kid. I was able to go to school the same as everyone else does. All of my friends knew that I had a disease, and I really had a great and accepting family and community of friends. I've now been going to hospital once every 2 weeks for my treatment for the last 13 years. And that, I suppose, has been the biggest impact that my rare disease has had on my life. And throughout my time going to hospital, something that I always really picked up on was that people were really hit hard by hospital parking fees. Because in Australia, we have a great system of universal health care, but people would be slugged thousands of dollars just to go to hospital, just to visit their family and friends. And I always really noticed that this was an issue and that people were hit so hard by it. So when I was 13, I decided that enough really was enough. People were paying $28 to park for 3 hours at the hospital just so they could take their kids to treatment. And so I started a petition and a campaign and started really advocating to get hospital parking fees down and a good concession system in place for Australian families that could not afford the fees. And so finally, after 6 or 8 months of campaigning, meeting with health ministers and bureaucrats, we managed to establish a new concession system in New South Wales, by far the best system in Australia. And in the first year of operation, out of a total $45 million spent on hospital car parking fees, $15 million was subsidised and saved by families who could not afford the hospital parking fees. And I began to get really involved in the Gaucher community and my own disease's really specialised needs and challenges. And we noticed that one of the gaps that was there in the community was that we didn't have an incorporated patient group, which meant that there was no group really giving a voice to people with Gaucher, going and talking to government and to all of the stakeholders to make sure that patients were getting the best outcomes. And so my mother and I and a few other patients founded the Gaucher Association of Australia and New Zealand, which I am now honoured to be the president of. And now this association can provide the voice that we were missing for so long, and it can allow patients to really make the best of what we have and face our unique challenges and needs. And the truth is that I never thought that we would succeed. I never thought that we would be able to get actual change. But people always told me to have a go. People always told me to try. And I think what I found out when I was out campaigning was that when you have a go, people really give you a go. And I think that's what advocacy is about. And it's all about having a go and challenging the status quo, even when you don't know that you're going to succeed.